baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime
Your
girl.
hard drive is loud as fuck.
Yeah, I gotta... Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably because it's almost full. That's how that works, right?
Sure. They get louder as they fill up because it's like when you eat a lot of food and you're like, oh.
Possibly the best explanation ever. I am really smart. You should go post that. Yeah, it's because it's really full, like after a big meal. Everybody fucking knows that.
Your hard drive has a case of the meat sweats.
I haven't heard meat sweats in ages.
I haven't had meat sweats in at least 2 days.
Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer By, a Star Trek podcast, episode 66.
Whoa.
We will be covering The Arsenal of Freedom and Symbiosis, 2 first season episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation! In the first episode, first, before we do that, my name is Jake, and I'm joined today by
Chris?
James.
Caitlin.
Very good! Eddie's! In the first episode, The Arsenal of Freedom! In this episode, very American episode, we go find the USS Drake Cake.
Drake cake.
Drake cake?
Drake Cake.
Drake cake.
Drakes did make delectable cakes.
Drake Jake.
Drake Cake. USS Drake.
Peter means rock.
Peter Ridge Rock. I can't keep up this voice.
No, you're gonna blow your throat out. Or fart uncontrollably.
You're gonna drop an
Call him
O-ring.
A, call him B.
You're gonna blow out an O-ring. Drop it.
Suffice to say, you get the point. I'm a drill sergeant. Now drop and give me 50.
Yes, drill sergeant. I'm not doing 50.
Okay. That's fine. All right. The Sarge had to step out for a wank.
Oh, for a wank, is it? Going to
Oi,
go,
governor!
Gonna go fiddle and diddle, is it?
Do a little tiddly biddly.
Always side to side, never up and down.
It's all in the wrist, gov. We have fun.
We do. Anywho, yes. As he was saying, in that first episode, the Arsenal of Freedom, we come to a planet and we're looking for the USS Drake, which we never find, by the way. But it vanished while it was surveying the planet Minos. Turns out there's the creepy guy who was the ghost in Ghost, but not the main ghost.
Patrick Swayze?
No, not
Patrick Swayze wasn't in
the
this
guy.
show.
Wasn't it the same actor that's helped Patrick Swayze? Todd, like he was the guy in the sub.
I gotta say, I've never seen
Ghost.
Ghost.
No,
You've
neither.
never seen Ghost?
No.
Anyway, I think it might be the same actor. He's got a very distinctive look.
Yeah, like
Which
a fucking
which
bulldog.
character?
What the fuck was with his teeth?
The guy that played the salesman in Arsenal of
Oh,
Freedom.
I was thinking of the other guy.
Oh yeah, that guy was weird looking too. Yeah, no. Anyway, so we're looking for the Drake, and this fucking cretin shows up on the view screen, and they're like, "There's nobody on the planet, but it's a projection." And he's like, "A salesman. He's trying to sell weapons."
It took like a surprisingly long time for fucking Picard to realize it was a video. Oh, dumb Picard. Sorry, go on.
Picard is very smart.
So they beam down some an away team, and they do interestingly acknowledge the danger, which I thought was like, they're like, yeah, it could be really fucked up down there. So
But let's do it anyway.
let's do it anyway. So needless to say, there's an autonomous weapons system that is active on the planet, kicks their ass. Shockingly, nobody dies on the Enterprise. The entire Drake crew is presumed dead. Crusher gets her leg crushed. And have a little touching moment with her and Picard.
Nurse Picard.
Nurse Picard. Terrible bedside manner.
Terrible.
Meanwhile, the danger wasn't all on the planet. Up in space, they're also blowing shit up.
Geordi's in charge.
Georgie's in charge, much to the chagrin of our favorite chief engineer.
Argyle.
No, it wasn't even. Logan. Chief Engineer Logan, who is thinks he should be in charge.
Yet
Geordi's-
another chief engineer.
And then Geordi's like, "Hey Logan, stay away from my girl," meaning the ship.
Yeah.
It's an X-Men reference.
Okay. He's like, Logan, run!
Ah!
Yeah, which is actually what happened. He puts Logan on the saucer section and says,
He's like, Logan,
run
flights
away.
will be delayed 1 hour today due to snow.
I get it. He's like, Logan.
Stop being a little bitch. I'm in charge.
Logan, Togan, Jogan. Joe Rogan.
Have you had a stroke?
News radio.
I hope not, because Crusher would never know. She doesn't recognize the signs of stroke.
That's true. So no, they end up separating the ship. They fight off the monster or the robot, but really they turn it off at the same time. So it really wasn't necessary. They get out of there. They save the day. Everyone's okay, and we've added Arsenal of Freedom Planet, the Minos, to the Do Not Fly list.
Yeah.
All right, next episode, a very special episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, Symbiosis. I heard that Nancy Reagan creamed so hard when she watched this episode that they're still scrubbing the floors in the Lincoln bedroom.
I don't want to think about her dried up with JJ.
I don't want to think about the Lincoln bedroom.
I
Seen
actually,
some
on the
things.
way over, we were talking about this, me and Caitlin, and I was saying, fucking Nancy Reagan-ass episode.
Yeah, this was some Nancy Reagan shit. This was a dude. Just say no, boys! Just say no! We go to a planet.
But we're watching the sun.
Oh yeah, we're watching the
of the
sun.
system.
We got a cool little thing that is great for eclipses, where it blocks out just an eclipse generator, so to speak.
Yeah, I was like, don't look directly at it. You'll go blind.
But it's a TV screen.
Jordy's fine.
Yeah.
Oh.
Rim shot.
So we're watching the sun, and then they're like, oh, we're getting a distress call from a ship. So they go and check it out, and the idiots on the ship, and they're like,
Yeah, what the fuck were they doing in the
They
sun?
they were high.
They were strung out,
They were
dude.
really high. And they're like, can you fix your ship? They're like, I don't know how it works.
Do you have any Cheetos?
Yeah, help us. So they rescue 4 of the 6 inhabitants of the ship, as well as their precious cargo of drugs. 2 of the crew of the ship we meet are repeat offenders on Star Trek, both of whom were on Star Trek Episode 2, The Phantom Gourmet, The Wrath of Khan. We see David Marcus. David Duchovny. David Marcus makes his second and final appearance on Star Trek.
As a different character.
As a different character, not the same character.
Merritt Buttrick, I think was the
Merritt
name.
Buttrick. And then some other guy as who played Joaquin in, or Joaquim. Joachim.
Joaquin was in the original episode. Joachim was in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Oh. I didn't realize they weren't meant to be the same person.
Yeah, different guy.
Well, how interesting.
Either way, he comes same actor, and they're at odds with each other again. Because, that's what you do.
Although
Yeah, I
this
was
time
hoping-
they share scenes.
Yeah.
I was hoping they'd be on the same team with each other, but
No.
they were not.
I was hoping they'd touch dicks.
Joachim.
They could have.
Joachim is a drug dealer. So the episode is set up like, oh, they're delivering medicine. They're working out a deal to deliver medicine.
There's a plague on planet.
There's a plague
fucked up
on the planet. And everyone agrees that there's a plague, and then Crusher's like, I don't see no fucking plague here. There's nobody's sick. Everyone's fine. And then eventually she puts the dots together and realizes that they're not sick at all. They need, it's a drug. They're addicted to this narcotic.
She took Wesley's Connect the Dots book and said, "Oh, it's a rocket ship."
Wesley was getting another important lesson in
That fucking scene.
So, of course, in the middle of this episode, which probably wouldn't have been it probably would have been a pretty good episode, were it not for the scene dead in the middle, after they discover that it's drug, where Wesley and Tasha talk about drugs.
But why would anyone do drugs, Tasha?
Well, on my planet, if you're not getting gang raped by the weight gangs, you're gonna need something to take the edge off. And that's basically what
I'd like to think the minute they were done filming that scene, like, her, fucking Wesley, and Michael Dorn all just went off and did lines of blow.
Oh, I'm sure. But
Yeah,
Tasha explains to Wesley on how on her planet, which we know is fucked up, shockingly, rape gang didn't come up.
I was also a little bit surprised.
Like, really? An opportunity. Anywho, she explains to Wesley that on her planet, people do drugs. It's a big problem. Opioid epidemic. Their attorney general decided to go after pot users instead of the opioid users. And is a real douche. And
allowed for the sale of legal opioids to get people addicted so that they would have to turn to illegal opioids and eventually die.
That's right. I mean, basically, we live on Tasha's planet. think Tasha's just from the past.
At least, thankfully, the rape gangs on our planet are still have to keep it on the DL and aren't just like...
Not everywhere.
Yeah, look at Hollywood.
Yowza.
So, yeah, there's a stupid, weird PSA in the middle of this episode.
So bad.
And then the episode really turns into an essay on the Prime Directive, wherein...
It's a new definition from every other definition we've ever learned of it, too.
Yeah,
As always.
and honestly, in this one, it kind of works, except you get to the point where Picard basically finds the loophole, but the loophole involves letting people suffer a lot.
On both sides.
On both sides, as opposed to doing the thing that would have technically violated it, but would have ended up with the same result, but whatever. You know, malicious compliance for the rules. That's really what Star Trek's about.
When it's convenient.
This was the final production appearance, in production order, of
Denise
Crosby as Tasha Yar, as a series regular. She does appear as Tasha Yar one more time.
She waves goodbye.
She does. She waves goodbye on the
Did you
very
guys
last...
freeze the screen?
No, I went back and checked it.
Guys, stop spoiling future episodes.
Now, anyway, so she does not... This is the last episode that she filmed. She will, of course, appear in an additional episode of the show.
Which we'll get to later.
Which we'll get to next week.
In another episode.
But anyway, so those are the episodes. Arsenal of Freedom!
See, when you started that, boys, I thought maybe you were going for some sort of, like, Captain Lou Albano thing, because I'm sure... At some point, he was...
He was Mario on the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, and he was also a professional wrestler.
And he was big in the 80s, so I'm sure he was
Dub
involved in at least some, just say no PSAs.
And good personal friends with Cyndi Lauper.
Yes. To the extent they got her to guest...
In the middle of the night, my father says, what you gonna live your life right? Oh, daddy, dear, you know you're still number one. But girls, they wanna have fun. Oh, girls, we wanna have
How does Jake know so much of this song?
Wanna have fun.
Who doesn't?
I wouldn't have known what he was saying.
Wanna have... Okay, I think that's the end of the solo.
But yeah, he got her to guest on Mario Brothers.
So, I didn't like this episode very much.
Tell us why, Caitlin.
Because there was like 16 and a half hours of fucking Picard and Crusher, which just felt like a lot of filler.
Stay awake. Stay awake, Crusher. I mean, Caitlin. Stay awake.
I did, shockingly.
It is shocking.
I know. And I think that was like my big problem, actually, was just like their like 20 minutes of interaction.
Funny.
Tell me about your grandmother and why you know about roots. And like the little like,
Boy, there's lots of things I don't know about you, Bev. Like your infinite boner for me.
And she's like, lots of things. And I was just like,
Which, I don't care how much you know about roots. You're on an alien planet. Don't tell your captain to start mowing on plants you haven't scanned, you idiots.
yeah, start mowing on his root instead. Am I
You're
right?
fucking, I'm sorry, Doc, but the needs of the many. Your life isn't worth potentially killing the captain.
Especially because you don't know what a stroke or a cold look like. Just saying, what good are you? I did like the, I don't know if this was like actually like her trying to get in there or not, but when she was like, your patient is going into shock. Don't suppose you have a blanket. You're going to want to keep her warm. And then he's like, all right, Crusher, I'm going to go now.
Yeah, he
Let me
sounds
go
like
find
you.
you a blanket.
Patrick Stewart just got fucking, or not Patrick Stewart,
Gates McFadden.
yeah, Gates McFadden just got fucking friend-zoned hard,
Yeah.
if that was a real thing.
Oh, also, Jake, I did look him up. His name, the salesman, Vincent Schiavelli. I might
Was
be
he in
mispronouncing
Ghost?
that. He was, in fact, the subway ghost in Ghost.
I knew it.
And I'd suspected this. He was also the organ grinder in Batman Returns.
And as I suspected, he's the poor man's Larry Fine.
Was he in Last Action Hero as well?
I don't know, but this says he was Dr. Kaufman in Tomorrow Never Dies, so that makes him our second Bond alum.
Tomorrow never dies. Surrender. What, Jake? You're the only one that can randomly burst into
No,
singing?
I'm cool with that. No problem.
But yeah,
Let's watch Chris reading a Wikipedia article.
it's very exciting. But yeah, that was my like biggest gripe. Was it just felt very fillery.
Yeah,
I liked.
it's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny because Roddenberry specifically changed that cave scene because originally it was going to be the two of them flipped and Picard hurt himself and Doctor was doctoring it hard.
I
And
bet she was.
and she admitted her love for him, and there was some kind of like big scene about them admitting their feelings or something weird happened, and Roddenberry's like, we can't have that happen, cut that out.
Beverly, are you sure this is strictly necessary? I have to keep your blood pressure up, Captain. It's very important. But it will only last another second. Oh no, dear Dorothy, I'm very hot!
Lay back, think of England. Oh wait, you're French. I don't know.
If you speak a dead language. I feel like either way, it's a creepy power dynamic, though. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, she's like, oh, Picard, you're all helpless. Did I mention I love you? He's like, yes, Beverly, I love you too. Please don't kill me here in this cave.
Your leg's broken, not your tongue.
That's a face you could sit on.
Oh.
Another sign of just the fact that Crusher is a bad doctor is that she waits for ages to go, oh, by the way, I'm also bleeding profusely from my leg. Should have mentioned that earlier. Sorry.
I thought she
you're
had.
right, that was weird.
I thought she had mentioned how much she was bleeding and that they just never went past the arm wound.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird, though. It was like, you really are just the worst doctor in Starfleet.
Well, she was in shock.
Oh, okay, so let's go
some roots
back
all
to
over
the
my
beginning.
Leg. A very good place to start. No Sound of Music fans here?
No.
Go on.
So, one thing from early on that, like, amused me to no end was Picard doing his little log entry. This heavily forested world. Meanwhile, they beam down into a clearing with, like, 3 potted plants in it. And really, throughout the rest of the episode, aside from one little bit they managed to make look kind of crowded with
Was that the
plant
area
life.
where Riker was like, oh, I can't see through all the foliage?
Yeah. But then they were immediately in another huge clearing. Like, this was some original series level bad set.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, you couldn't, like, just drive out to the woods and film that.
Or just don't call it heavily forested in your exposition, and I'd have been fine.
Well, it makes sense that, like, because it was important that you couldn't see things very well, and there were lots of, like, things to see cover behind.
Yeah, or holes in the middle of nowhere to fall inside of.
Yeah.
This was one thing I did like. On the planet's surface, when Riker runs into his old buddy, but it's actually a hologram, when he's like, yes, from the good ship Lollipop. I was like, yes, good ship Lollipop reference.
I was like, I'm from the Lollipop.
It's a good ship. I like giggled
It's
way
good to
more
know
at that than I should have.
That in all the information that is lost during World War III, the filmography of Shirley Temple will somehow survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I actually liked the interaction with the fake...
Yeah.
Bryce?
Yeah, Bryce. His
Yeah,
old
Captain
friend.
Rice.
Like, it made...
Whose ship goes only warp 3, he told
was
us.
his name
Yeah,
Paul?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's one of those old rinky-dink Oberth class things, like the thing that couldn't even escape that drugs.
Yeah, no, I made that note too, though. That seemed weird for any sort of major Starfleet vessel in the 24th century.
Yeah, you're only like a little bit faster than freighters.
But I did like that, I don't know, I like the interaction. I like how... One thing that I did appreciate about the way this episode went, with the exception of it taking so long for Picard to realize that he was talking to a recording at the beginning, which is just like an old man dealing with technology. Like,
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of like...
My parents
like,
on Facebook
press 1 for menu option 1. Yeah, I'd like to place an order for 2 tickets to Hamilton. Anyway.
It's like Archer's mom falling for his voicemails every single time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I other than that though, I did like the way that the whole episode was sort of like nobody felt particularly dumb. No one behaved stupid.
It's true.
It did take Picard a while to realize that right behind him there was a gigantic wall of screens that he hadn't noticed before.
But I give a pass on that because A, he was preoccupied with
Landing on
with
top of
Bev trying to get it.
Now, yeah, that's the thing. It was 10 meters. Now, 10 meters, because they
like
just
30
said,
feet.
Yeah, that's more than 30 feet, right? Because a
Yeah, what is
meter's,
it, like
a meter's
3.3
longer
feet
than
or something?
Yeah, a meter's longer than a yard, so that's quite a drop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, they should have died.
Like, I can only guess.
There's a lot of sand down there.
Or like maybe there was some more of those roots.
Thankfully, Picard
And,
had
like-
a nice soft Beverly to break his fall.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just imagining it when they fell down there. Also, the way that she fell, the way
Oh,
they
God,
choreographed
the, like,
the fall,
double... Whoa!
But she like,
Whoa!
it's like the props person was like, listen, I don't want you to damage the props, so toss me the props before you fall. And like she very obviously like throws the props and then falls into the pit.
Well, speaking of throwing, there was the scene where to get Tasha out of danger.
Yes,
Brent
Data like
Spiner's
threw
double.
her like a fucking
Picks her up and
javelin.
tosses
But
her.
it's also obviously his double because he's got the like bad.
Oh,
hair.
I was watching Tasha in the scene.
Yeah, no, he's got the like. I don't know how hard that is for them. Like, why is it so hard to just plaster down the double's hair enough? Because that's the only way you can tell it's the double. Is the hair is too puffy.
Well, I also think that at this time, they were not imagining that televisions would have the resolution for that to make a big difference.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean,
But it was-
in the late 80s, they were still...
Yeah, but still, it was. In now, it's just like that's the double.
Yeah. I mean, there are other times. We'll get to points in the future where, like, there'll be a fight, and it's like, oh, that's obviously not Patrick Stewart having that fight.
I mean, that is a black woman. What is going on?
That is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. What are you doing here? No, he doesn't show up until Voyager. So.
No, I know.
Is Dwayne Johnson on Voyager?
Yes.
He is. He's in an episode.
Yeah, it's a guest spot. It's not a break.
Oh, you've broken her tiny little mind.
I'm so excited! Okay.
Speaking of our 30-something foot fall, that Data is sturdy enough to jump down, and Tasha knows just how sturdy Data is.
Anatomically correct.
I'm certain that in their 12 minutes between attacks by the drone, they got it on in some shrubs.
There were a couple of moments in this episode. You know, it's like, Data, I need you. It's like, hey, yes, you do.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another one where it's like, all right, we'll do it just like before.
Yeah, I made that same joke.
Like, just. I wish he'd stuck around so they could have explored innuendo much further with him.
Aww.
I wonder if Data's penis is prehensile.
Yes.
Meaning, can he grip things with it?
Like, do you think, like, as he was falling, he could have reached out and grabbed a vine and done, like, a Tarzan swing?
But, so, yeah, I'm sorry. But when he was suggesting, and I suppose possible, that their fall was partly broken by perhaps thicker roots that they had torn down in their plummet.
Or at least Picard managed to have his fall broken by all the roots somehow.
Do you think he hurt his root?
I don't know. I mean, he was fine.
That was, though, like, not only did she fling her props, and then the, like, double, whoa! And then Picard, like, right there, whoa! It's like, I'm sorry, is this a Warner Brothers cartoon? What just happened?
Yeah, the choreography of the fall was kind of silly.
Terrible.
They only had the budget to do it once.
Also, like, the explanation of, oh, we're now in a hole and our communicators don't work anymore.
I mean, the other people's communicators didn't work either.
Yeah, the impression
Was that what the explanation was?
They were all being jammed.
Oh.
Because even the people on the surface couldn't reach the
Who
Enterprise.
else wanted to be jammed?
Tasha? Bev?
Beverly.
Everyone?
Eh.
Jordy, probably?
That hologram captain guy?
Rice?
Hey, Riker.
Yeah, you mentioned this in the intro, but they sort of implied that the ultimate fate of the Drake would get expounded upon, but ultimately it wasn't.
I mean, it's presumed destroyed.
Right, but they had this little line about how, like, you know, when the hologram is like, oh, the maximum warp of my ship is 3, and they're like, oh, is, so it's still somewhere. And yeah, obviously you can just imply, oh yeah, no, it just didn't make it. But it seemed like they were trying to set up a thread that got dropped, and they forgot to fix the script.
Yeah, if they spent a little less time on the grandma, you know, Beverly's grandma.
Grandma's munching on roots.
Yeah, they could have spent a little more time. Because there were interesting things about the planet. You know, I did like the hologram salesman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was kind of cool.
And like,
I liked his prerogative that he has to show you the device until you buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, what if Picard was like, all right, no sale. I don't want it.
They would have killed everybody, including Picard.
That's terrible. That's terrible policy.
Maybe that's actually why the species was wiped out. They had a customer who was like, you know what, I'm good. And they were like, oh shit, we didn't plan on this!
So what happens when the bill comes for that? It's like the end of Home Alone. Picard! You spent 80 billion space bucks on a weapon system! Space bucks, that's right.
Yeah, I was going to go with Quatloos, but Spacebucks is cool.
I wasn't clever or quick enough for
That's
it.
cool. Spacebucks.
Thank you, Jake.
The overall concept, though, is certainly, you know, it's a good one. The idea of this automated sales pitch weapon system run amok.
Yeah, I mean, it's not completely original in
No.
the science fiction sense.
But
It
it's
reminded me a little of the TOS episode with, I think the woman thing's name was Larissa or something.
Oh,
The one that came out and was like, I'm for you, Kirk, and had to kill Kirk.
Yeah, what was that one? The Last Outpost, maybe? No, that's
that was
a
a
TNG
episode.
But I know the one you mean.
Yeah.
It made me think of The Incredibles.
Made me think of the Terminator.
Wow, we're all thinking of things.
Wait,
Good job, everyone.
Why and why each
Would you like to go
respectively?
first, Jake?
Well, the Terminator is about machines that take over the world and kill humanity.
Sure, but I guess with these ones, they're not really actively doing anything
No,
except for
it's
when they
true.
think a sales pitch is happening.
It's true, but I guess that depends on what you think the motivation of the machines in the Terminator are.
And that's fair.
They might just be carrying out their programming,
Mm.
which is kill all humans.
Yeah.
I thought of The Incredibles because when Mr. Incredible first goes to the island, he fights that robot thing, and then it
right.
keeps learning from him and like readjusting its fight plan.
That's right.
That's where I was at.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. It's a good connection. So speaking of comic books, Chief Engineer Logan.
Ha.
Could that asshole have overacted more?
He had the deadest fucking shark eyes I've ever seen on an actor.
But then he really overdid his lines. It was weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they should have got Argyle.
They should have.
Went
I
to the
just
William
think
Shatner School of Acting.
I'd go for McDougal right
Actually,
now.
this
I'd be
would
fine
have
with
been a
that.
good McDougal. That would have been a good part for McDougal to play.
Is that the lady?
Yeah.
She was the chief engineer in
Naked Now.
Yeah, I guess trying to picture Argyle attempting to like pull rank is just fucking laughable.
Okay, that is funny.
You know, he's like,
McDougal would do it.
I outrank you, Jordy. That's cute. And then he tugs on his beard for some reason.
Ugh.
Yeah,
I'm
Troy
uncomfortable.
was again pretty useless.
No,
Oh
no.
my God.
What the fuck was that scene?
Everyone's
also-
feeling uncomfortable.
And
Especially
also,
me.
Why was she picking on Solus? Okay, so I thought for sure, like definitely, she comes in all creepy, and Jordy's like, I have all these fucking
Anxieties?
anxieties,
Yeah.
and she's like, yeah, that's totes normal. And then she's like, oh, but that's Solus. I thought for sure she'd be like, fucking Logan is up to some shit. You better watch up for him, because I thought for sure that Logan was gonna pull some shit.
Yet usually it is her job to point out the painfully fucking obvious. Like,
But
There's a lot of tension on this ship.
although you know what? You gotta figure though, she must have been so excited because he went like, all right, what do I do? Like in her head, she was like, someone actually wants my advice!
Someone noticed I'm in the room.
She went to her fucking, like, when all the crisis was over, she went and wrote, Dear fucking diary, someone cared what I had to say! Smiley face.
Dear fucking diary.
Dear-
Next time I write in a diary, I'm gonna start it with dear fucking diary. Today
Also-
was good.
I just love the idea. I think I mentioned this before, like, in the past, Picard has just left people in his office willy-nilly. And now it seems like even if you're just temporarily in charge, you can just use his office as you see fit.
I mean, it's the ready room. It's kind of...
Where you get ready.
Yeah. Oh.
But it's really just mostly Picard's office. It's weird. So just glancing at my notes. Before we move on to the next one, there was one thing that bothered me, where at the end, I liked Geordi's idea.
His
Of, like-
inspirational speech to the crew.
Not that. That was dumb. But when you're like, let's go into the atmosphere. Even if it's cloaked, it'll leave some sort of wake.
Yeah.
But then they're acting like the ship's like, oh, its hull's getting hot. It's like, you can't go through atmosphere in a modern starship without trouble? That seems
Well,
weird.
it depends on the planet, what the atmosphere is made of, how hot that planet is, how close to the sun they are, probably, right?
Speaking of sun, though, I mean, weren't they in Naked Now? Weren't they also like really dangerously close to a sun?
The naked time.
No, they were close to a planet collapsing in the Naked Time.
Oh, you're right. There
Naked
was a
Now-
sun one.
Naked Now.
Yeah, it was a sun.
Oh, all right.
Well, then actually, I mean, tomorrow was yesterday. The original Enterprise went through an atmosphere and it was fine.
Yeah.
This is
They
100
just don't
years
make
later.
it like they used to, Chris.
But I mean, it just seemed weird that it's like, and I think in future, not the far future, we'll have times where they go through atmospheres and it's like, yeah, no big.
Were their shields depleted because of the attack of the
Maybe
frigates?
that's possible.
Also,
I guess.
Don't our rockets go through atmosphere?
I mean,
Maybe their atmosphere is extra
the
thick.
Space shuttle, the space shuttle has to go through atmosphere, and it's fine most of the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it has to go a very specific way, so that the heat shield is...
Yeah.
But I'd like to think that by the 24th century, it'll be much more matter-of-fact.
True.
I mean, apparently the ships are made of tritanium or something. It's like...
Well,
Nothing can melt titanium.
except for that big fucking gun they found.
Yeah.
Well, you know what they say. If at first you don't succeed, try titanium. Thank you for the pity laugh.
I like it.
God. Sorry, Ames, I'll go.
But yeah, I agree. I think it
I'll
was...
listen to you.
The we're burning up was a little bit of a contrivance.
I felt pretty happy for Geordi getting like the verbal pat on the back for his good work until I remembered what a fucking creep he is.
He is a bit of a creep.
Spoilers.
I did think that was kind of funny, though. I expect it in one piece as it was given to you, or whatever the fuck he said.
Oh, you want it in the original condition? Should I hose it down? Yeah, you should hose it down.
Picard's like, did you use the ready room? I did, as a matter of fact. I'll call...
Don't worry, I already put on the fucking oven self-clean mode in there. It's all good.
Blew open the hatch, sucked everything
Blew
out.
something over
Sorry about
all
your
right.
fish.
He sucked something out all right.
One final thing before we move on. On the planet, Riker gets stuck in a force field for a while.
Oh, God, and he has to... Yeah, he sure moves a lot for a guy who's not supposed to be able to move.
No, my joke was, so Data is booping his buttons to try to let him out, and he says, "Oh, this may take some time, sir, because there's only 2 fucking buttons I have to boop, and I have to do them like 100 times to get to the next fucking menu screen."
Yeah, that was actually the one where he figured it out was just the 4th one. It was just...
Well, it's like I had an MP3 player once that was like my first MP3 player had like a screen on it, but it was not like an iPad or a Zune or anything like that. It was just it was like SanDisk or something.
Yeah.
And it had, I think, 2 or 3 buttons to navigate all of the menus. And it was like that.
That's my mini disc player was like that.
Yeah.
Can you believe I had a mini disc player?
That's pretty cool. I liked the mini discs. I thought it was a cool format.
I liked it because I was always like the queen of the mixed CD, like when writable CDs were all we had.
Yeah.
Mini disc, I could fit like 80 motherfuckers on there. So I would just be like, I had 2 discs, and I would rewrite a new mix every week. I would be happier than a pig in shit.
So I'd say the connecting tissue between these episodes
Riker getting trapped by things?
I was gonna say, isn't shady salesman, it's Riker making stupid faces. Because when David zaps him, he's all just like... I can't even... The face he made was astounding.
Oh, yeah.
The zapping, too. Because, like, that
Why was the zapping
It was
a
an
thing?
aborted plot point, obviously.
Because of the sun?
It's like, we're gonna
Why did they... And fucking what? Yar and who? Worf? No, Yar and somebody were having a long conversation like...
Picard.
Oh, man.
How would we
what happens if they
such a
use this
weapon?
against us? That would really make us boned, wouldn't it? Well, let's continue on with our day.
If they use it against us, we'll just ask them to stop.
That's the answer. That's why they were like, holy shit, the sun is unusual, because then they were like, oh, maybe their powers are because of the sun. So
They've never
I
seen
feel
the
much
fucking
better
sun
now.
before? They've been studying solar flares for fucking ever. What the hell were they looking at on this fucking sun?
I have this one
Magic
friend.
sun.
I have this one
Magic
friend
sun?
who I worked with in high school at a supermarket. And every time there's going to be solar flares, he sends up a not solar flare on Facebook about our technology's going to be destroyed. Every time. And I tease him mercilessly every time. And I wish he was a fucking listener. Because I thought of him so much during this episode. I was like, oh no, it's the solar flares. They're fucking everything up with their magnetic fields.
Although, the one fucking time an overloading console doesn't explode is when it's the one Wesley's using.
Man!
Yeah.
Captain, I think my console's overloading. It's like, normally people don't have time to say that. Normally, console starts to overload. Step 2 is... and a red shirt is dead.
Yeah. Not gonna get rid of him that easily.
No.
So I really liked this episode.
Why?
Oh man, I just loved it.
Did you?
Aside from, yeah.
It was another one that I found really heavy-handed.
It
was.
totally
It was.
is heavy-handed.
Yeah, even
But-
removing the fucking Yar speech to Wesley, which every fucking cast member and crew member on the show were yelling to cut this fucking scene, and Maurice Hurley would not cut this scene because he used to work on Miami Vice.
He wouldn't stop masturbating long enough.
Was
to
he-
cut
probably
the
couldn't
scene.
stop sexually harassing the female actors on the show.
Like that,
Females.
I liked the episode, but that scene was like, yeah, I already picked up on this theme. I get it's the late 80s. I get every other fucking show in existence is doing a very special drug episode, because if not, Nancy Reagan's gonna send in her stormtroopers to fucking murder you to death.
Wow.
But stop it. Oh, fuck Nancy Reagan.
Murdered
and your
to death.
Piece of shit husband.
That's a good song.
Isn't there also a movie called Murder by Death?
There's
That's
a
the
band.
Columbo
There's a
one.
band called Murder by Death.
There's also a movie.
Ah.
And it's got, like, Peter Falk and, like...
David Niven. Maggie Smith?
Maggie Smith. I was gonna say Dame Maggie Smith is his.
No,
wife.
I think she just looks like her, but isn't actually her.
Damn, Maggie Smith.
Anyway.
But
good movie.
I liked this, but I think I liked this episode a lot because I felt really clever because I caught on to it really early on that this was obviously drugs. But like, I kind of liked. Well, there used to be a plague and they fought it, but they just keep like just abusing their power, even though they know it's bullshit. And I did sort of like Picard being like, we're just going to leave them to their devices now. But as a side note, I was also horrified by it because I don't know if you know this, but certain addicts, definitely alcoholics, if they're like super, 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 super heavily relying on alcohol, if you just cut them off cold turkey, they can literally like have a heart attack and die because their body's relying on it so heavily.
Yeah, and the fucking Breckians were keep making more and more like condensed dosages or some shit.
Yeah, and I just feel like he was trying to.
Thrall is going to suck if not kill them.
Yeah, that was my big thing. Was like, okay, but you could have had Beverly whip up some methadone, and these people would maybe be able to get through it. But instead, you were like, "Fuck you, get out."
On the plus side, those two drug dealers are stuck on the planet with them and might get murdered during everyone's like thralls of
their backs will be the
withdrawal.
first up
It's
against
gonna
the
be
wall.
fucking great. Yeah, see you in hell, you and your shitty little wife.
Well, I agree. I liked the episode. For the most part, I did not care for the heavy-handed
fuck that scene.
stuff. But the concept is sound. Like it's a cool sci-fi concept.
Oh yeah, the getting them codependent on each other. Like the fact that the Breckians don't have any other industry than making what's the drug called? It's gone in my notes.
Drugs.
Felicium.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, exactly. It's their only industry, so it's like there is an actual moral quandary here for the crew of the Enterprise. It's like, well, one way or the other, we're fucking somebody over.
Oh, see, now, I am probably just a bad person, but my thought was like, good, let them burn. Let their whole society, which is probably funded entirely by these drugs and velvet tiger paintings or whatever.
They literally
Solar
are.
flares.
They literally said, they just give us everything we need.
Yeah.
So
and they're obviously dressed way better and way cleaner looking than the other people.
Well, it's because the other people are junkies. You understand? They're basically not even human.
Yeah, but they're somehow
Sarcasm.
even with their reliance on the drug, like their industries obviously still work because they're able to pay the Breckians their stuff.
Although they haven't made much advancement in 200 years.
Well, yeah,
That's like the most unrealistic part. If these people are all fucking taking 72-hour long drug trips, they're not fucking getting anything done.
Well, that also seemed like it was like I thought it was interesting how they 200 years ago the drug addicted civilization was way more. The Ornarians were way more advanced, and the Breckians, like they had space travel, and the Breckians didn't, and all this other stuff. So it was interesting how their civilization basically just like stayed the same for 200 years.
Yeah, well, because they're all high now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Breckians don't advance because they got everything they want.
Dum-dums. They're just dum-dums.
Picard is real judgy shit, huh?
Yeah.
It's like, what? None of you are actually just sitting there like, oh god, they're all so stupid. It's like, fuck
Yeah, but you would
pal.
think there would be somebody on the ship that would know how to, like, fix the ship.
Yeah, but I mean, like, all the weird shit you've encountered, you can't imagine maybe there's some... I mean, we find out what it is, but... How many times in these fucking shows does something happen where, like, everyone's gone space crazy or something, or everyone's...
Exactly twice, and they were terrible.
I'm just saying, like...
The second one was terrible.
If you asked Picard to go fix a thing in engineering, Picard would be like, that's not a thing I know, and Geordi's not here. Who's our guy?
Who's our chief engineer of the week?
Well, also, like, Starfleet officers are trained in many ways, too. So I feel like...
In many techniques?
Well, he can probably, do the equivalent of fixing a flat tire or changing the oil.
I don't know. I mean, Picard, we'll see times in the future when, like, Picard has to do all kinds of crazy technical shit.
Hook up the Enterprise to Rudolph and go.
Like, the only person I really wouldn't trust to work on the ship is Troy.
I can't tell how the ship feels. Why won't you tell me what's wrong?
I mean, there is a running joke, which we won't understand for a while, but that every time they give Troy the keys to the Enterprise, she crashes it.
Fucking women drivers, am I right?
It's okay because it's like Marina Sirtis is the one that made that joke, so...
Huh.
Oh, well.
Well, that's because she's funny. She got a sense of humor.
Does she have female friends?
I don't know.
Nope.
No,
True.
Marina Sirtis actually, as much as I shit on her character, she's actually really great at interviews. And
she seems cool. Yeah. Her character's useless. That's not a reflection on her.
One of my notes. One of my first notes. Thank God an empath was there to tell them tension is rising.
Tension on the ship. Thanks, lady.
Yeah, but like flying kind of close to a sun is not by any means the like biggest thing they've gone through lately, so I kind of felt like...
Well, yeah, but she said this after, like, panels started being weird and lights were flickering.
That's
like,
fair.
It was getting crazy up in here.
Yeah, plus he'd already made his, like, totally calming speech about how things could go really bad.
Good job, Picard.
He's on the intercom talking about, like, oh, things are dangerous, but we're getting some amazing views. And it's just like, I want to add on, too bad half you plebs can't see it. Good to be bridge crew, dicks.
Here's a question. So the freighter beams over their cargo first.
Yeah.
Why does no one on the Enterprise think this is a bad thing?
Maybe.
Like if
I thought it was a bomb, or
That's what I was thinking,
like the 6 crew members.
My first intuition would be beam over your people, and they beam over a box of who the fuck knows what is shit. They're here to kill us.
beam into space.
Yeah. Also, like, but at the same time, they were obviously dum-dums. Like, that was...
That could have been a facade.
That could be a ploy.
It could be, but...
We thought Paul Rice was legit.
This could have been a Samaritan snare.
Is that a future episode or
That
something?
is a future episode.
Yeah.
Seriously though, Klingons, take notes. You know, you ever want to fuck with Starfleet? Just
Act like an idiot.
Do we have Klingons listening to our show? This is awesome. Yeah. I didn't realize we had a big following.
One I know of.
Where do Klingons live?
Kronos.
Yeah, I didn't know we had a big following in Kronos.
I mean, presumably they have a whole empire, so lots of places, but originally Kronos.
Not Praxis.
No, not Praxis.
But they're not called. So it's not the planet's not Klingon.
No.
At one point, I think somebody calls it Kling.
Kling. Yeah.
Oh no, it was last week. One of the Klingons in Heart of Glory called it Kling. It is possible to also happen in the original series.
Yeah, I just remember a Klingon calling it Kling.
Clang.
Oh yeah, it's like what were some of the old series like Vulcanian?
Yeah,
that's fucking racist. Okay.
Kling. The Ferengi will remain to have been from Ferenginar, though.
Ferenginar.
That will be their homeworld.
It's the greatest thing ever. Sorry, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. Anyway, back to this episode.
Yes.
I think I'm with you, Caitlin. I mean, I did overall like the episode. Having said that,
You did say that.
Picard's twisting acrobatics to abdicate responsibility for these people was a master stroke of being a dick.
Yeah.
Because like his whole thing. So Beverly's like, Jean-Luc, I'm not wet for you anymore. Obviously,
not like last week
because you're being a real cockbag.
No, next time they get together, it is going to be pure hate fucking.
Yeah,
I'd
because
that.
like he's like
Same.
Seriously, like this is the time when you're pulling the we can't get involved in the internal politics of aliens because it could, and like his explanation is sound. Like,
even though the first second we meet them, we're like, yeah, we'll beam you aboard and give you some free toys.
Yeah, exactly. It was all fine and dandy to give them the parts to fix their ships until he's like, well, actually, no, I just want to fuck them over.
Was it a macroelectric magnetic
Some kind of magnetic coil.
Yeah,
It
some
was
kind
a
of
coil.
magnet thing. But yeah, so the thing that he says in the turbolift to Crusher makes sense. Like every time a more advanced civilization has interfered in a less advanced civilization, it has gone badly for the less advanced civilization.
That I would dispute. Things were pretty sweet on Piece of the Action World.
That's true.
Like, yeah, Nazi planet, not great.
I don't know. Oxmix was planning on taking over things, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty sweet as long as you're not up against Oxmix. I'm
Also,
just saying.
Oxmix, who's to say Oxmix wouldn't have been a great leader?
Yeah. Or that his coup would have succeeded.
I heard he's very smart, has real genius, a real
stable
genius.
Yeah.
We're basically led by Oxmix, aren't we? We have
That's an
President
insult to
Oxmix.
Oxmix.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, I would rather be led by fucking Oxmix, frankly.
Maybe
Trump-
plays pool better.
Yeah, I was gonna say Trump probably doesn't even know as many rules as he does about pool.
No, that's true.
But anywho, so I thought Picard's point was well made.
Yeah.
That said, he should have just fucking told them you're not addicted to
Yeah,
drugs, and he should have let Beverly give them some medicine.
What is the issue with telling them a thing that the other side was very open about?
Yeah,
I don't see that problem.
There's just not a lot of empathy here.
Well, we've said before,
Where's Troy?
Picard is the anti-empath.
Yeah, but like anti-empath. Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird hill to die on.
What's that guy said? Sorry, you first.
No, I'm going on a different thing.
Well, it's like I said to you in the car. Was, you get to bend the Prime Directive only so many times a year before Starfleet starts to get annoyed, and he already used his up, especially with fucking Will that time. So really, it's Bev's own fault.
Well,
Will?
And especially after
Not Will.
Wesley?
Wesley. Will's his real name.
And especially after that special task force sent to see if he was, good enough to be the commandant, which, why the fuck is it a commandant?
I think that's really what the head of like West Point is called.
Well, all I can think of is Commandant Clink. And I will say this, I think Patrick Stewart would look magnificent with a monocle.
Of course.
He would.
Oh, he would.
Riker!
Oh.
Dismissed. All right, sorry.
And Riker would look good in that silly helmet.
And with all that 5 o'clock shadow.
So I do
gotta
think
grow that
Oh, you meant Schultz. I was thinking of Bob Crane. Sorry, go on.
anyway, Picard.
Picard did one good thing this episode that I made specific note of.
What's that?
When the leader on planet Ornara or wherever the fuck was on the view screen talking about whatever the fuck, Picard's like, oh, bring me the Ornorans. No, wait, I don't want them on the bridge. I'll go to them. And I said, kudos to you, Picard. Don't let them run loose all over the fucking ship.
For once.
I would like to recommend that for the duration of discussing this episode, we refer to him as Dickard.
Ooh, Dick Hard.
No, that was last episode.
That's true.
No, wait. It wasn't.
Yeah, so basically the crux of the problem here is that he has information. There's people that are being systematically victimized by another group of people for the last 200 years.
Yeah.
And Picard has already agreed to help the people by giving them technology.
Yeah.
But now, suddenly, when at stake is not, our ships are broken. Like, when the stake was, our ships are broken, the answer was, oh yeah, here's some technology to fix your ships. Now when it's, we're being victimized by another civilization and we're getting addicted to drugs and we're probably going to die eventually, the answer is, oh, no, can't interfere. Can't interfere. In fact, we're not giving you the technology
This is
either.
too complicated.
Because
I'm
we
leaving.
want you to suffer.
Well,
I'm leaving. Jordy's in charge.
If
Fuck this.
I could give the pedantic bureaucratic asshole explanation of at least why he was willing to give the tech at first, is because it was equivalent to something they already had.
And because it was life or death, right? No,
because he was
care?
gonna. They already had two additional coils ready to go for their other ships.
Yeah.
They were
But I
also
think,
broken.
again, if I had to, use his excuse that he would have given to Starfleet had he turned them over, is it would have been like, oh, they already had that tech. We were just giving them more.
So he had no excuse to deny
No, that is true.
doing it later. The
No,
only
that is
reason to
super
deny
true.
doing it later is because what he wanted to do is he wanted to get them off the drugs. Like
Yep.
that was part of his goal, and he was trying to do it in the bounds of the rules.
He just didn't want to take Crusher's advice because she's a woman.
Maybe.
Can I ask a question that I really want you to cut if it's a stupid question? So, could this episode be like an allegory for the way like white people ignore the suffering of black people?
In what way?
I don't know if it was intentional, but
200
sure.
years of exploitation and like the hesitation to fix the problem, and the fact that black people are incarcerated for drug use like in huge numbers compared to like white people, and I don't know. I'm just asking.
Well,
Is it possible?
I think there's. So here's an interesting thing. Right?
I don't know
So
if I
you have-
give Maurice Hurley that much credit to think of
I
that,
don't-
but
I
go
don't
on,
know
Jake.
either. But I was going to say, I think there might be something there. I don't know if it's strictly white and black, but I do think it's
Rich and poor,
economic.
or yeah,
Because you do. So you have the two planets. One of them that's addicted to the drugs and is poor, and one that is supplying the drugs and is rich.
Mm.
And then you have, and that could be like you could draw a parallel there to like a South American, like a Colombia, right, where you have these ultra rich elite drug producers,
lords, yeah.
Pablo Escobar types, and then you have like the absolute worst poverty,
Some caste system shit.
yeah,
And they're being, the rich folks are funded, all the real work to keep society going is done by the poor folks.
Right.
They make everything. They support everything.
Yeah. And you also have a situation like in Colombia when Pablo Escobar, a brutal fucking piece of shit human being, was largely regarded as a hero by poor people because he was philanthropic. He would give money away. Like people, it was not like he built this image, this cult of personality that a lot of the common people thought he was just swell, that he provided. Can't trust the government, but we can trust Pablo. And then you have. But in reality, the opposite is true because, the system that he's building is keeping them in poverty, which is exactly what you have here, where you have the poor planet who is like, no, these guys, they're great, and then you even have them doing shit like,
they're keeping us from dying.
We'll give you this shipment for free. Yeah. That's how wonderful we are. We'll give it to you for free. So that's the kind of the parallel that I saw. But then the question is, where does that put Picard in this situation? Because
that's like America funding coups in South America.
It's exactly what it is.
Ooh.
It paints exactly. That's because I was thinking like, where does this fall in like the timeline of like Noriega or the Contras? And
you're very smart, Jake. You should go on that Reddit thread.
I am very smart. No, so like geopolitically, this paints Picard,
and by extension, Starfleet,
in the position of the benevolent outside force that is keeping the status quo.
Yeah.
While on one hand preaching just say no.
Yeah.
While also like
Wesley.
We have to maintain this system, or like I go back to like the Contras and that whole fucking thing, which probably I don't know the full timeline on that, but it had to be around this time.
You're safe either way because America has been fucking with South American politics since like the 50s or 60s.
You have the banana republics before that.
True. That's a good point. So even longer, yes. But as far as like specifically funding like Contras and things like that, we were so afraid of the communists getting a foothold in South America that we broke a lot of South American governments very badly.
Absolutely. So but it's interesting that if that was the parallel they were going for, which I can see it certainly.
Yeah, it seems to connect very well.
Like it's an indictment of the Federation, and it's an indictment of American policy.
Yeah, which
it's pretty damning.
Which I doubt was their intention, but I'm glad that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad I asked this question.
I think they would intend that without too much skips and jumps.
Well, I would think that maybe of later seasons or series. But we're talking about Maurice Hurley, who, from what little I know about him, he seems like a dipshit.
He was.
I also didn't check if he was like the chief writer on this episode.
Oh,
I just knew that he wanted that just say no scene because of his work on Miami Vice.
He was basically the showrunner at this time.
Yeah. So he had the say to put it in. But I don't know if he did the script because I didn't write it down.
Yeah, and it sounded like there's a good documentary on Netflix that we watched. What was it? I don't remember what it was called. It was hosted by Shatner.
I forget what it was called too. We should rewatch it.
Yeah.
10 forward.
So it's on Netflix. Search for Star Trek and you'll probably find it.
Is it about like social themes and?
No, it was literally a making of TNG.
Oh,
like it was
isn't it like Madness on the Bridge or something?
Chaos on the
Bridge.
That's the one.
I've seen that listed.
And it's like basically like.
Is that like Panic at the Disco or?
Yes, same thing.
It's fine. I mean, it's not great, but it does have some interesting interviews and like.
The art bit got weird to me.
They did this weird like comic book motif and like made like this weird like poker game gambling.
Fizbin?
Yeah, Fizbin. Yeah.
Two Quatloos.
There was this weird artwork involved, but anyway, it was interesting anyway because people really did kind of let loose about like, yeah, Maurice Hurley was kind of a shit.
Yeah, Denise Crosby told some stories.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Was he the one that drove her out that they got rid of and then she came back?
She's the one that drove off Gates McFadden.
Yeah, so
That's what I meant. Who were you talking about? You're talking about Tasha Yar.
Yeah, Tasha Yar.
And I was thinking of
and
Beverly.
as Jake mentioned, this was the last filmed episode Tasha Yar was in, because she left because she wanted to kind of like look more into movies, and she thought her character was becoming lesser and lesser and getting the Uhura treatment.
Well,
How did that work
Because
out
they were
for
giving
her?
all the fucking lines to Wesley.
I mean, this might be more fitting for next week's episode, but I'm going to bring it up now since we're talking about it. But, like, Tasha Yar, because I was actually thinking about it while we were watching this episode. I know that they didn't want to have a chief engineer.
Yeah.
That was that's why we don't have a state chief engineer at this point, because they didn't want to have a repeat of the original series. But honestly,
Why not?
I don't know.
Scotty was awesome. Everyone loved Scotty.
Yep.
Except Kirk.
But, like, really, they didn't know what they wanted to do with Tasha. And, like, and, because, well, actually, probably they didn't know what they wanted to do with Worf. Because Worf is, at this point in
They
Star
knew they
Trek,
wanted a Klingon.
They knew they wanted a Klingon, and it only makes sense for him to be, like, a tactician, security kind of guy.
Tough guy.
And, like, to have him be subordinate to Tasha is interesting. And it would be more interesting if there was conflict there. But of course, at this point, you have
everyone's friends.
You have the directive from on high that there can't be no conflict. But it would be interesting, like if you had the type of relationship Geordi and Logan had show up from time to time with Tasha and Worf, that would have made those characters more interesting. But I think at this point, you have Tasha, who's not very interesting of a character. I mean, they've touched somewhat on her.
She banged Data.
That
gives a lot of points.
I was gonna say that makes her the most interesting character on the show, aside from Data.
Like, honestly, she's probably the one that they've explored the most.
Certainly
in
the
terms
one
of their
Data's
past.
explored the most.
Yeah.
Heyo.
But right now I feel like her and Worf are really redundant in the show. And
Yeah,
honestly,
they
if you
kinda-
have to pick one, you're going to pick Worf. And that's what they did.
Yeah.
I feel like she was cool in this episode, though.
She was.
She was all like take chargey and
She
like
was
being
cool,
a
and she wasn't
smart,
the school mom.
tactical, whatever. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
too bad.
G.I. Joe.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking. God damn it again. I was thinking of the last episode
Oh,
when they were on the
Oh,
planet. I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
she was fucking baller on that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's what I meant. My bad. Yeah, no. The drug speech was stupid, but that's not
Yeah,
her
that
fault.
was-
She didn't write it.
No.
This was also the last episode of Merritt Buttrick, because he died of AIDS less than a year later. And I guess what I heard is they specifically gave him the role in this episode so that he'd get some money because he couldn't afford health insurance.
God,
And
that's
they felt bad for him.
really fucking depressing.
And he did a really fantastic
Yeah, he did a
job
great
in
job.
that character.
He was
he was really good.
I really liked his dum-dum bit.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
great.
It was funny.
But then when he also had to be like tortured, he was
Yeah.
really good. And I'm sure, sadly, a lot of that was drawing from the fact that he knew he was dying.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it is a shame.
So could this also have been a fuck you to the Reagans?
That's another thing that I was thinking about, and yet another indictment of the United States U.S. policy is in terms of the ignoring the plight of people suffering.
Yeah.
You have
AIDS
AIDS
victims.
You have an AIDS victim in the cast.
Yeah.
Damn.
So there's potentially a lot of unexplored depth in this episode. We have no idea if it was intentional.
No.
But we can certainly read into it.
Yeah, and I am always about
Fucking over the Reagans.
fuck the Reagans.
Yeah.
Fuck both of them. Ron was a shit. His wife was a shit. She looked like a Columbo murderer every day of the fucking movie. Fuck them both.
Just
Kind
one more
of,
thing.
She was a little serial killer-ish. Too.
I mean, she was. She helped.
she just looked like
Well, because her and Ron
Dead eyes.
ignored the AIDS epidemic for so long. A lot of blood is on their hands. I hope they're both in hell.
Is she dead?
Yeah, she died a year or two ago. I was very amused.
Oh,
On the day
Wow.
she died, I made the crack on social media about her looking like a fucking Columbo killer. And I don't feel even remotely bad about that. We all laughed in my household the day Ronald died.
Yeah, well...
Well, actually, the day after. We hadn't heard he died because we were too busy watching an Addams Family marathon.
Priorities.
is
Only your family.
I was gonna say, is that the most Chris's family thing you can imagine?
Well, TV Land had just gotten the rights to the Addams Family, so they're doing a weekend marathon.
Okay, but you're telling me that they didn't interrupt
Nope,
this
they
program
didn't.
for like,
They did not
President Reagan has died?
interrupt.
TV Land? No.
I would think all channels.
The only time you interrupt a broadcast for a president's death is if it's an assassination. Not if it's he's 1,000 years old and died 30 years later than he should have.
Ooh, Jesus. You're making me laugh like Cesar Romero over here.
To our other guest star, Joachim will actually appear once more in Star Trek as a Romulan.
Nice.
Yeah.
He has a face for evil, though.
He does. He does. Like,
Yeah.
He's just built for
You
evil.
could-
Couldn't have been
In
on the
for
good
radio.
side.
My God.
And
No,
his
I'm
and his and the woman there.
Oh, her.
What a witch.
She was
I
awful.
wouldn't be surprised if she was modeled after Nancy. Just like her like fucking wicked smile when she's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, we got away with one." When Picard's like, "All right, fine, I'll let you go on with your little thing." And she's like, "Yeah, you will, you sucker."
Yeah, and then he fucked him.
Dickard.
I hope they're torn to pieces limb from limb by the locals.
Probably will be.
Yeah,
Good. Good.
Like, oh, I heard. Somebody will start a rumor that the whatever species they are.
Yeah.
Onarians?
Bacarians?
The
Breckians?
the Breckians.
Breckians, there you go.
That the Breckians are like, oh, I hear that their blood includes the same chemicals.
Felicium?
The Felicium. If we bleed them...
Oh man, they don't kill them. They strap them up somewhere. Like drain just enough to keep
bleed
them
them,
from
yeah.
dying while also injecting them full of shit that causes their blood production to go, oh, that's a fate worse than death. I love it.
Yeah.
Blood bags.
Exploding forever in a supernova. Oh wait, that was a
Yeah.
different.
Yeah,
Digested
that
for
was
1,000
the-
years in the Sarlacc pit.
That was the Mad
You
Max.
die
yeah.
of starvation or something.
I know,
worse.
way before 1,000 years. Old age even would be before 1,000 years.
Unless you're
Are
Yoda.
you talking about the Sarlacc?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Sarlacc never made sense. You'll be digested, of course. No, you won't. You'll be dead in like 20 minutes.
Now, I think there was some fucking novel, of course, which has since been made non-canonical, that said the Sarlacc kept its victims alive. They were like their bodies became integrated into its like endocrinological system. So they sort of became part of it even as it ate them alive. So
No.
that kept them alive
No.
for the like 1,000 years.
How long would
No,
it take
God,
for it
no.
to digest gum?
10,000 years. Actually, it wouldn't. It would just shit it out eventually. But
That's
still.
right, that's what happened.
How does a Sarlacc pit shit?
Maybe that can be.
That's what the core of that planet's made of.
That's what all the sand is made of.
Duty.
Maybe
Howdy.
like that's the next Star Wars is Boba Fett like opens with him crawling out of like the thing's mouth.
Here's what I hope. It opens with him crawling out, and then immediately a speeder goes by and knocks him right back in.
Yeah.
Because he is really overblown.
Or he's made himself into the monstrosity that Pickle Rick turns himself into.
Pickle Rick. Is that a Rick and Morty reference?
You're too stupid to get it.
From the... I heard you have to have a high IQ to understand the jokes of Rick and
Well,
Morty.
I am very smart.
Oh.
This episode has been sponsored by subreddit I Am Very Smart.
Yeah,
Indeed.
we just-
Stable Genius. Hashtag Stable Genius.
Here's our
right.
show title, I think.
All right. Well, if we're done talking about that, this stable genius will take us out.
Nice.
Play us off, Johnny.
That's me. All right. Well, that of course has been a star to steer her by. We were kind of modeling. I don't know, like AIDS, drug addiction.
But this was a really good, deep conversation. Like,
The second half. The first half we were
The
kind of
first half was
all
all
over the place.
did Bev and Picard bang
Really,
each other.
my joke at the beginning of this being America was about the arsenal of freedom.
But, yeah.
But really, it ended up being about Reagan era
Yeah.
drug and public health policy.
Yeah.
Anyway, next time on this show, we'll be talking about 2 additional episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. Skin of Evil, in which a skin
turns evil.
turns evil, made of oil slick.
Ooh,
which-
more policy commentary, maybe.
Yeah. Which
Yeah,
is-
save the ducklings and penguins.
The final appearance
The
of
porgs.
Denise Crosby
Don't
as
say
Tasha
porgs.
Yar as a regular.
What's the other episode?
And the other episode is We'll Always Have Paris.
Holodeck.
I wish I could remember any of this episode. No, I
Tom
don't.
Paris?
No, I don't think this... No, it is holodeck. Fuck if I remember.
I was gonna say, because I mean, also the Federation president is in Paris, so
That's true.
I hope they're not speaking French there.
No, it's a dead language. Here.
Oh.
All I remember is, like, maybe there's, like, God Mode Troy in this one. Like,
oh no,
like she, like... I don't know.
Actually,
No
yeah, that
spoilers.
could be interesting. Give Troy something to do at a fucking
I don't know. I
episode
could be
for a
totally
change.
misremembering which episode this was.
I
Anyway,
look forward to finding out next week.
we will look forward to finding out next week. Until then, you can like and subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. Give us 5 stars and rate us honestly in the text.
Comments.
5 stars. Your podcast sucks dicks.
It's perfect. I like that.
only an unpatriotic subversive wouldn't like
Honest,
Reagan.
Be honest. Yeah, it's true. If you want to share our this episode with some of your conservative friends, they will love it.
Oh,
So if you don't want to have conservative friends anymore,
Exactly. Send this to your crotchety old man with the MAGA hat.
I should do that.
Yeah, do it. Do it. If you know any red hatters, they'll love this. We made fun of their guy
A lot.
a lot. Anywho, but if you don't find us on iTunes, you can of course find us on Google, on SoundCloud, on
SoundCloud?
Soundhound.
Soundhound.
We are on Twitter and Tumblr as well. We are SSHB Podcast there. A little birdie tells me that there's a new article up there about Wesley and his shirts.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
It's going to be pretty good. I don't know if it's up there as of this recording, but I think
It probably will be.
It'll be up there by the time this airs, and I've gotten a preview of it. It's pretty damn good. And of course, we are also on Facebook, facebook.com. Start a steer her by. Just use the search. I don't know how else you do stuff there.
I don't know either.
We don't have our own subreddit yet, but we have been enjoying reading the I Am Very Smart subreddit, which is people acting like dicks on the internet. Which
Picard is definitely a member.
Picard is a total
Wesley
member.
is definitely a member.
I guess that's all we got. So thanks for listening. My name, as always, is Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
And this is always Caitlin.
Just say no to drugs.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
Concise.
Drug abuse resistance education.
Dare to be different. Do you think they have Roombas, or do you think there's actually a person that goes around the ship and vacuums?
Well, in
They just leave the room and turn the air off for a couple of minutes and then suck it out.
That's true. They could just evacuate the room.
in the Wrath of
The
Khan,
whole room could turn into a vacuum.
in the Wrath of Khan, which admittedly is almost a century before, there is a guy vacuuming in one scene.
That's true.
So-
That's a good point.
But that was on headquarters on Earth.
Yeah.
Well,
Can't open the windows and suck all the air out.
Well, you know why? Because that Roomba running over dog shit thing kept happening on the Enterprise.
In Worf's quarters.
And they really-
Or if you gotta stop shitting on the floor.
It's everywhere!